Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you'd like to see how I made this beautiful Minnie Mouse cake for my daughter's 1-year-old birthday, please keep watching. Hi guys, it's pretty late. Everyone's asleep and my baby girl's birthday is in the morning, so I'm going to be making her cake. I'm going to do a Minnie Mouse themed giant cupcake with some other smaller treats to go with it. So tonight I want to get the cake done so it can be completely cooled in the morning so I can add the other elements to it. So I'm going to be using this Walmart Great Value brand confetti cake. It was 88 cents. I figured it would be just as good as the other one. And then I'm going to use some Rice Krispie treats for the decorations for on top of the cake. So right now let's just get into getting the cake mixed up. I'm going to be using my KitchenAid mixer, and so let's get started. As you can see, I have a pretty small kitchen, so my working space is minimal, but that's okay. I'm just going to take everything a step at a time. These are some of the other ingredients I'm going to be using. I have the fondant to cover the Rice Krispie treats in that I'm going to use to make Minnie's ears. I have some pink chocolate, so I'm going to melt down to make a giant cupcake holder for the cake. And then I have some white frosting that I am going to potentially dye pink. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave it white or dye it pink or do a mix of both. And this is the cake pan I'm going to be using. It's the Wilton giant cupcake pan, and so yeah, that's what I'm going to be using for that. I'm just going to go ahead and finish mixing everything and get started. Now that the cake is done mixing, just going to get that into the pan, into the oven, and then I'm gonna start on the Rice Krispie treats. Okay, since I have the giant pan that's all in one, this is the bottom portion and this is the top. This portion takes way more cake batter, so it takes longer to cook. So what I like to do is either cook them separately in 2 different batches, or let this one cook for a bit first so it's partially done, then fill this part up because this part cooks really fast. So I don't have any flour non-stick spray, so I just did old school rubbed oil around the pan and toss some flour in there just so that the cake won't stick. So now I'm going to fill up the large back portion and put it in the oven for at least 20 minutes, I think, and then I'm going to check it to see how it's doing and then add the rest of the cake. I'm going to fill this up a good portion of the way full. Now actually, these cake boxes are smaller than the size I'm used to using when I use this, so those 2 boxes that I just made seem to have completely filled up the bottom half, so that works out anyway. I'll just bake this off by itself, then go ahead and mix up an extra box of cake that I got just in case, and that box I will use for the top portion. So I'll definitely be baking in 2 batches. So I have my dish that I'm going to put the Rice Krispie treats in to cool and firm up, and I've covered it in saran wrap so that the Rice Krispie treats are easy to get out of the pan once they're ready to go. Okay, now that that's all set, I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator to firm up. And tomorrow I will take this out and I'm going to use this to make the big Mickey Mouse ears for the top of the cupcake. And I'm going to cut the circles out and cover them in black fondant. And then I have a nice big bow, which I'm going to show you where I got that from, that I'm going to use to put on top of the cake. Now for this cake, the only thing that will not be edible is the large bow. So let me get this in the refrigerator and I will be back tomorrow to show you me putting it all together. Okay guys, I'm back. Now it's the next day and the cake is done. It's completely cooled. And now I'm going to use candy melts, basically chocolate circles. I'm going to melt that down and I'm going to coat the inside of here with it and let it chill. And that's going to work as the cupcake holder for the bottom of the giant cupcake. So I'm going to be using these right here. You can use any that you find, basically, whatever color it is that you need. I'm going to dump some of these into the bowl, put them into the microwave, and then I'm going to let them melt, and then I'm going to show you how I brush the chocolate into the mold. So here you're going to see me brushing the bottom of the pan with the chocolate, the melted chocolate. And this has to be done in a couple steps. You first want to do a thin layer, put it in the freezer to cool for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then keep repeating that until you get a nice thick coating on the bottom of the pan. So while this is sitting in the freezer, I'm going to switch over and do the Rice Krispie treat ears. Now that I have those cut out, I'm going to be using this black fondant right here. I put some flour on the counter. I'm going to roll it out and then I'm going to cut out those same size circles so that we can cover the ears. Now that I have the fondant rolled out, I'm going to cover the Rice Krispie circles in some frosting, and then I'm going to attempt to cover them in the fondant. This fondant was softer than others I've used, but it's still really hard to roll out and handle, and if you roll it out too much, it tears. So, I don't know, fondant is not my favorite, but it gives a smooth finish. And this is the frosting I'm going to use. here go the 2 pieces of the large cupcake that I made last night. They've been freezing overnight. They're nice and firm. So I need to first trim the top off of this one and then shape this piece as well so that they can fit on top. So I'm going to start with this piece right here, and I'm going to trim this top half off just like this, being careful not to damage the shape of the bottom piece. And every time that you cut any cake off, it's a pretty significant piece of cake. You want to keep it because in case you have any little accidents, you can cut this piece up right here to fit into that. So you want to keep all your cake scraps. So I'm just going to trim this.
I'm just going to eat a little frosting. Yeah, cake.
Trim this part right here. Okay, that looks good right there. So now we have this part. So I'm going to move this over to the side. And now we're going to take the top part.
More cake.
No more cake right now, please.
Oh.
Now I have this piece here, which got a little stuck, but that's okay. So now I'm going to trim this part around here so that it can go on top of the bottom. Now the mold is froze and it's ready to come out of the pan. This is actually my first attempt to release it from the pan. And as you are going to see, it was a fail. It did break and I did have to melt some more chocolate and do it again. So this is just a note to make sure you're very careful so that it does not break. Okay, so this is my second attempt. It came out perfectly. I didn't do it on camera because I was nervous it was going to break again, and it was the last chocolate that I had, so I wanted to be very careful with it. This time I left it in longer. I did thinner layers and more layers, and I just left it in the freezer longer. So now I want to get the cake inside of it so I can put it back in the refrigerator because I don't want it to get too warm and melt. So let's get that done. Right here is what you don't want to do. I know better, so I don't know why I did it. I was rushing at this point and I forgot. But you have to trim down the size of the cake before you go to put it into the chocolate mold. As you can see here, it got stuck. The chocolate started to crack a little and I didn't want to destroy it because I did not have any more chocolate to do it. So I stopped here and had my husband come over and pull the cake out while I held on to the chocolate so that I could salvage this chocolate mold. Now here you can see I actually went and got a lighter and I'm heating up the places where it started to crack just to melt the chocolate down, and I'm smoothing it over with my finger to mend it, and I'm going to go and set it back in the freezer. Again, I don't have any more chocolate, so I need this mold to work. Okay, so I have it back out of the freezer. I'm being very gentle because, like I said, this is literally the last chocolate that I have, and I don't have any time to get any more before the party. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, what I didn't do last time, I don't want to fiddle with this too much, and now I did do is cut around the outside so it just fits down the middle. And I'm gonna take some little extra pieces of cake and just wedge it around there, just to make it nice and snug. And that's why I said earlier, keep your pieces of cake that you cut off, because you never know when you will need them and can use them. I'm gonna stick it back in the freezer for a couple of minutes just to make sure. And then I'm going to come back and show you how I ice the top. And then we'll see. I'm debating doing some fondant polka dots on the bottom. I'm not sure. So I guess you'll see that when I come back too, if I decide to do that or not. Just to tie it in with the little mini Rice Krispie treats and her hair bow. Okay, so I'm gonna go put this in the freezer. When I come back, you'll see me ice and put the top on it, and you'll see whether I decided to use polka dot fondant for around here. I'm back. So I decided to do the polka dots, and then I cut out the letters for her name. With the polka dots, I just used a circle cutout. And the letters, I used my Cake Boss letter punchers, or mini letter cookie cutters, I think is what they're called. I picked those up from Christmas Tree Shop a couple years ago. They work really well, and they, as you can see, make the letters nice and neat and clean. So I'm going to add that, but first I'm going to get the top of the cake. Its first coat of icing. I just want to trim this a little more, excuse the mess, just to make sure it's flat. Okay, I'm back. I let this set up. I have this bottom piece out. I made some pink frosting to mix with the white. I usually use a piping bag, but I found this at Walmart. It's supposed to be a press, and it has, well, it is a press, and it has the different piping tip at the end. I'm gonna try that. If I don't like how it works, then I'll just have to switch to my regular piping bag. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this, still being very delicate with that, because I really don't want it to break. I'm gonna lift up this top here. And very gently, please, please. All right. So we have that on top of there. So let's give you a little look around. So now what I am going to do, because I can see a little cracking in my shell that has me a little bit nervous. I'm going to get a lighter and I want to try to mend that just a little bit, heat it up, and then rub the chocolate in with my finger, hoping that that will fix the crack, because I really cannot afford for this to break. This is the main part of my whole design. Okay, I don't want to do too much to it. Just want to try. I'm going to stick it in the freezer for another minute or two, just to give it a chance to try to mold together, I guess. I don't know if it's this chocolate. I'm not sure. I've done this before, and the very first time I did it years ago, it did break, but that was only because I didn't let the I didn't let the cake cool enough. So when I thought it was cool and it wasn't. So when I put it into the mold and placed the mold into the refrigerator, I thought, okay, let it sit like that. The cake obviously melted the chocolate because it was too hot. So I don't know if it's something to do with this brand of chocolate. I just don't know, but I'm trying to do my best with it so that I don't have to just scrap the whole thing, because I don't have time to make anything else and I really want this to work. So just gonna take our time with this, make sure it's right. And the kids are napping now. We're gonna take my daughter for pictures, but I wanted them to take a nap first because I didn't want them to be grumpy. So her and my son are taking a nap and my husband is back there with them. So I have the time now to slow down and sort of catch up with this. Try to catch anything that I feel like might cause a problem. All right, that looks good. I don't want to mess with it too much. I'm gonna go and sit it in the refrigerator, or rather the freezer, for a couple minutes, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I took it out. When I was putting it in there, I noticed it's kind of heavy. I'm afraid of it collapsing. I saw on some of those baking shows that they put dowels in to secure it. So I'm hoping what I'm doing is right. So I'm gonna do that in the hopes that it'll help everything stay together. And I could have cut those shorter. That's okay. I have my trimmer. Trim those off, but I just wanted to give it some support. Okay, let me get my cutter. Okay, put this up, cut this off. There we go. Cut this off a little more. Awesome. Okay, so I just want to smooth this icing back over. I'm gonna try and do the rosettes. I'm gonna find, what I like to do too is find the part I feel like looks the best. Cause that's where I want my front to be. So since I think that's gonna be the front, this is gonna be the back here. I'm going to start back here with this, to see if I like how it turns out, and then I will show you guys. Turn it around. So with the rosettes, you just want to start in the middle and bring it around and bring it around. Okay, so that turned out really well. Take a look at that. So I am gonna use this. So I'm gonna do white all over, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna add some pink touch-ups to that. And then I'm going to add the polka dots, and then I'm going to spell her name out in front on the display plate. I had a different platter. I like how it looks on here with the lace detail on my Pioneer Woman plate, so I'm just gonna leave it on here. And I don't want to move it again either because we don't want a mishap. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish piping, and I will let you see it when it's done. Just as a little review on this stopper, it works well, but you have to refill it often. I don't know how I feel about that. If I'd have had it in my piping bag, I wouldn't have had to stop so many times. But maybe that's a minor thing, I don't know. The package actually markets it for cupcakes, which would make more sense, because if I was doing cupcakes, I probably would be able to get about a dozen of them done, depending on how much frosting you're putting on there. But that's my only negative so far about it. But you can definitely pipe with one hand. Just push the stopper, it does work. And if you overfill it, I mean, everything just comes out the top, so just put it back in there and reuse it. Real quick, I want to jump back on. This is the bow I was talking about. This would be the only non-edible component on her cake. It's actually a headband, but I'm gonna take the bow off and I'm gonna stick it into the cake, and then I'm gonna put the ears on. So I'll be back so you can see everything done, and this lights up as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Charlotte loved her cake and I enjoyed making it.
This is Connor. Please subscribe and watch my videos.